Sorry, I went painting with my son today. I decided to leave it as a reminder of what's important. It's January 4th, 2025, as I'm recording this. And as that beep, beep, beep in the intro provides the metaphorical countdown to Inauguration Day, the explosion that we just cut away from is the absolute perfect metaphor for what we can expect on that day. And the guy standing there, like he's ignoring the warning beeping in his ears as he stares inquisitively at his imminent demise, is us. If we don't wake up and move now. Are you awake yet, YouTube? The news is terror attacks. Terrorists are among us. And absolutely nothing is as it seems and deeper than you're going to hear on any other network, at least on cable news. And I'm going to show you why and the proof. Story number one.
FBI says it seized largest cache of homemade explosives in its history at Virginia home. Not in the history of the state of Virginia, in the history of the FBI. The largest cache of homemade explosives was seized.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was the terror attack from last weekend. That's the one that they stopped. It's January 4th. Are you awake yet, YouTube? Here's what happened in New Orleans.
Here's what we know as of this morning about the Bourbon Street SUV attack, killing 14 with at least 40 others hospitalized. Police say the suspect rammed his truck into a New Year's crowd and then hopped out, opening fire. He was killed in a shootout with police. Right now, there's no reporting on how many of the 14 victims were killed by the truck and how many by bullets. Authorities saying there were no accomplices. The FBI saying at first they believed others were involved, but after examining the suspect's electronic communications devices, they now believe he acted alone. President Joe Biden saying the FBI told him they are 100% convinced the suspect was inspired by ISIS. The FBI says the New Orleans attacker was Shamsuddin Bahar Jabbar, reportedly a 42-year-old male born in Beaumont, Texas. The Pentagon says Jabbar was not only an American citizen, but an Army veteran serving 9 years, one in Afghanistan back in 2009, not seeing any combat while working over there as a computer specialist. The Pentagon confirming Jabbar left the military 4 years ago with the rank of Staff Sergeant. The FBI says Jabbar, before the attack, posted several videos on Facebook pledging his allegiance to ISIS. But they have found no evidence so far that he had any contact with the terrorist organization America is currently fighting in Syria. Jabbar's brother telling reporters Jabbar was raised a Christian but converted to Islam years ago. Reuters reports police found an ISIS flag attached to the Ford F-150 truck that was used in the attack. It was a rental. I'm not sure you're allowed to do that.
And there you have it. David Feldman does a great job in giving you the information you need to know. This was a Texas-born military veteran, radicalized, rented a truck and did a horrible act. And even though David Feldman gets it right on point a day after, the honorable representative from that state who cares so much about the people said something completely different.
Let me say something else that's obvious, and I don't know if enough attention is being paid to this, but we all know that for the last 4 years, the Biden administration has been completely derelict in its duty. The congressional Republicans, we here in the House and the Senate, have repeatedly asked the DHS under the Biden administration about the correlation, the obvious concern about terrorism and the wide open border. The idea that dangerous people were coming here in droves and setting up potentially terrorist cells around the country. We have been ringing the alarms. We impeached DHS Secretary Mayorkas in the House over that very issue and others related to it. So this is a bit concern. They told us, Lawrence, for 4 years that the number one threat was so-called racially motivated extremism. It was nonsense. This is the thing that we were all concerned about. This is why we raised the alarms. This is why we passed H.R. 2, the strongest border security act ever passed by Congress.
Now, instead of telling the truth, quelling the fears, informing the people, Mike Johnson, the Honorable Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, goes straight to foreign criminals. How? I mean, people, this was an American soldier born in Texas, but he was black. So you can just lump him in as one of the others, I guess, which miraculously, ingeniously gives him the opportunity to minimize the real issue of turning white rage into terror and confusion for the purposes of keeping half the country scared of shadows, confused by the truth, ignorant of reality, all for the sole purpose of brainwashing them to be willing to give up their humanity and their freedom in order to feel safe under the complete control of their white Christian oligarchical masters. That's what we just saw. There was no inkling of truth there. And as a quick aside, Exhibit A, what I mean by your white Christian oligarchical masters. Fuck you, pay me. That's the motto. He may not be Jeff Bezos, but this is exactly what he's doing. What that whole song and dance was for, instead of being the dutiful House member from the state, representing the people who elected him, quelling the fears, informing the families, giving the truth. He was ensuring that the fear was stoked just enough to continue that rage, to continue that confusion, to make sure that if there ever was a chance to stop the violence, that wasn't going to happen, because that won't keep people scared enough to keep voting for him and his party. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get there, but there's another story. It happened in Las Vegas. Check it out.
Now, the Las Vegas attack. Authorities saying Matthew Allen Liebelsberger, a 37-year-old active duty U.S. Army Special Forces soldier, that's a Green Beret, he was on leave. They say he shot himself in the head 17 seconds before his Tesla Cybertruck sitting outside the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas exploded, injuring 7 others. Police say the explosion was so intense, his body was unrecognizable. The BBC reporting Liebelsberger, stationed in Germany, was in Las Vegas to visit his wife and baby daughter for Christmas.
Shocking new details about the suspect behind this Las Vegas Cybertruck bombing, and they are some pretty shocking details. According to the Daily Beast, the man suspected of being behind Tesla Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas was a, quote, big supporter of Donald Trump and voted for him in November, according to a senior law enforcement official. And that revelation came from an interview between Matthew Liebelsberger's loved ones and investigators. His family also added that they believe the 37-year-old Green Beret who died in Wednesday's blast outside Trump International Hotel was a registered Republican.
Once again, YouTube, David Feldman does an amazing job giving you the facts. This is the day after. Really good reporting there. Everything you need to know. And although he has no connections that I know of to the government or intelligence agencies, somehow he's still able to give a more factual reporting of the perpetrator and the details than our incoming deporter-in-chief, right-hand man with the president coming himself, Tom Homan. How is this possible? Hear what he has to say.
And despite what's happened the last 2 days in Las Vegas and in New Orleans, this administration is not stopping. They're still releasing thousands of people every week through the CBP One app, the ACHME program, and Border Patrol continues to release people in this country without proper vetting. This is not a good thing, and I can't wait for the new administration to take power and secure this border and protect our national security.
I know. You're saying to yourself, what the hell did he just say that has to do with the issue he was talking about? I know, I agree. It had nothing to do with it. The point of it was to keep the insidious fire stoked. They don't care about the deaths, the families, you, your mama or your cousin too. They live off of the politics of grievance. On January 4th, 2025, the beginning of the social consequences of that brand of politics is front and center and is not going away. And after I break that down for you in a way that you can understand and use to decipher the news you'll be hearing for the next 4 years, I'm going to introduce you to something called Strategia della Tensione. This is the video you've been waiting for. Viva la resistance. Get ready. So, the other day, my wife saw a post from her ridiculously average, everyday, run-of-the-mill American trader MAGA used-to-be friend. And she was blaming Biden and Harris for the New Orleans terror attack. I believe her exact words were, "This is the Biden and Harris administration's fault." That's going to be important in a second. But regardless, we were both dumbfounded. I mean, it's not strange to see something idiotic on a daily basis from this intellectually impaired fetus as we watched her brain dry up like a pocket of ramen noodles in real time during her descent into the septic tank of the MAGA cultism. But still, we could not understand what could possibly have connected these two. What was the connection? Where was this coming from? But by the next day, I figured it out, YouTube. You see, YouTube, immediately after reporting, Trump put out a statement blaming immigrant crime from across the border, using some of the exact same language that she used. That's why I said it was important. Her fucking copy and paste mind is so burnt and disgusting and incapable of original thought that she just spews out whatever the God King pees in. I wrote my wife a message and I said, "I found out why your friend went straight to Biden-Harris blaming after the attack in NOLA. And now that we know that it's an American, maybe you should ask her in the comment section if she's done embarrassing herself. Or will she continue to follow her new God blindly into the pit of ignorance without learning a damn thing?" And I also said something else in the message, and this also matters. I said, maybe since the Cybertruck explosion was a Trump supporter, will she blame him? Or does she only post things that she has no evidence as a rule?
Trump took to social media to criticize Democrats, rage at the FBI and the DOJ, and instantly blame the attacks on undocumented immigrants. So then naturally, his sycophants and followers did the same thing. Only now they have egg on their face that the Las Vegas bomber was a white guy serving as a Green Beret in the U.S. Army, and a Trumper on top of it. Trump still refuses to set the record straight, let alone say that he was wrong. Unfortunately for his followers, they don't have the same luxury as Trump. If they don't admit that the whole undocumented immigrant thing is wrong, they look stupid.
That's the point. That's the point. Your MAGA cultist friend, your Fox News watcher, needs to stop acting like they actually care about the dead and the families of the dead. They only care if they can use their deaths to raise up their new God King. And if not, it's silence. There's no more posts after that. It seems like the only thing she's allowed to post on her channel or her page is things that don't have evidence. The reason why is because this is what someone whose brain has been taken over by the cultist parasite known as the Republican Party under Donald Trump will do to avoid cognitive dissonance. I'll let you read it. I don't need to read it for you. You see, but because a cult member only can do what avoids that feeling right there, because self-reflection, understanding of any kind, the ability to enjoy and revel in the truth in any way, searching and seeking for facts, are all things that are against everything that they've been learning as a cult member. Those who live in constant fear and grievance of things that are taken away from them by people unseen and shadows around the corner need to feed that. And a party that has absolutely nothing to offer needs you fed. And eventually, to avoid that cognitive dissonance, that same noodle-brained, dry, crispy, rotten idiot will probably end up saying something like this.
Some in MAGA Nation seem impressed by the credentials of the suspected Las Vegas Cybertruck bomber after news broke that he was a supporter of Donald Trump. and that it didn't take long for Trump faithful to hint at their newfound admiration for Livelsberger, whose attack outside a Trump hotel injured 7 people. They went on to report that the charge was led by none other than Matt Gaetz.
That's right. It's gross, I know. But that's the only way to go. Or else you have to face the demons. You have to face your disgusting self in the mirror, and that causes cognitive dissonance. That ruins your worldview. That reminds you that you've been voting for evil people who piss on your back and tell you it's raining, and you turn around with your mouth open, and everyone who's been laughing at you is right. You can't do that. And that's the problem with the politics of grievance. It only wins when there's a grievance. In return, half of the country has become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Hate feeds hate. And now, even in the marriages of the idiots, it's showing itself. Doesn't even need to be a political grievance, a racial grievance. They go around seeking it. The downward spiral is all-encompassing. The hate is palpable, and the institutions built on grievance, like Fox News, can't just turn a corner and stop. It can't. It only ends up one way, where white supremacist groups may have been the highest on the terror list. The truth is, the entire party, and eventually the entire country as a result, is in some way in danger of becoming a bomb with a lit fuse. This type of politics is coming home to roost, literally.
So it's official. My wife is divorcing me. She said she couldn't be with the Trump supporter.
I know it sounds harsh. I don't give a fuck.
Told me I have it till the end of the day to get my shit out of the house, get all my things. I should change the lock. She doesn't want me back. She says she's taking the kids away from me. Yeah. I don't know what to do.
You know, that was interesting. I wonder who he's giving the puppy dog eyes to, who he's trying to get sympathy from. Is it from his wife, or is it from a bunch of female-hating males online? And dude, you're a fool. This is the end game. This is what they want. They don't want you to be with a woman, dude.
That beautiful cartoon there, that well-drawn and funny cartoon at the end there is correct. What did you think would happen when you infuse incel culture because you need grievance, with misogyny because you need grievance, with racism because you need a grievance, with nationalism because you need a grievance, with Christianity because you need a grievance, with abortion because you need a grievance? As you start to mix it all up, the pan is dirty. There's no color left. There's no vibrance left in the marriages, in the schools, in the workplace, on the streets, and in the halls of Congress. There's nothing left, which is why you get a Trump, the ambassador, the avatar of grievance without substance. There's nothing there but orange paint and diapers and shit. Looks like the Cybertruck terrorist. His wife may have left him, not just for being MAGA, but because he beat her. This is alleged, but we do know that he's stationed overseas and had come home to see the wife who left him for their daughter's birthday. This could be a trigger. There are many triggers that could have happened. I don't need to say them all, but I'm here to tell you that the downward spiral, the domino effects of needing the grievance that just so happened to connect with someone who is mentally unstable is all around us. Don't fear, be vigilant. I'm not telling you this so you don't go outside. I'm telling you this so that when you watch the next ridiculous House member tell you bullshit, you can call it that and turn off the TV and come back to where you know the truth is. Because you need to be educated for the next 4 years and know what you're watching. That's why I'm saying it. That's just an aside. But let's go back to our friend, the Cybertruck driver. Local authorities have released the Cybertruck bomber's manifesto. As has been pointed out previously, he praises Trump and Trump's victory over DEI. He further calls for a removal of women in general from leadership, which he claims is a masculine domain, and an end to inclusion and diversity in the military and government. His manifesto calls for the removal of all Democrats from the government and military immediately, by force if they don't leave. If Trump's enemies won't leave, he calls on militias and the forces under Trump to barricade all federal buildings and major roads into population centers until the purge is done. It's January 4th, 2025. Are you awake yet, YouTube? Here is your politics of grievance. He doesn't even know what he wants, how he wants it. He doesn't even know how to start the movement. He only knows, I'm just gonna kill myself and write a manifesto and say how aggrieved I am at the other side. You thought it was just immigration. You thought it was just brown people. Yeah, it is now. Kill them all. Kill all the brown people. When there's no more grievance left, it's just going to be all Democrat, maybe all women, maybe all Chinese people. I'll tell you what, everybody who wears blue on Sunday, there's only one way. And they knew this when they started this. Republicans, I'm not even talking MAGA, when they started this politics of grievance in the 80s, they knew it. When they told you about trickle-down economics, they knew it. Every economist that's not paid off by the Heritage Foundation or the same people who had scientists tell the American population for 50 years that smoking didn't cause cancer, there was no conclusive evidence that climate change is real. The same people knew it when they said it, but were so racist and greedy that they said, at least I'll be on top. It's January 4th, 2025. The chickens have come home to roost. And in 16 days, the end result of the politics of grievance and the legislating with empty promises and nothing but tax cuts for rich people, the avatar of that will be sworn into office with these brown shirts at the ready. Are you awake yet, YouTube? Strategia della tensione. If you want to resist, it starts with fortifying your mind. Everything you see from now on in this video and in every piece of media that you see from now on where somebody with the R by their name is talking, understand that they don't want to stop terrorists. They want to create terrorists. And it doesn't matter who they are, just like the NRA. You see, school shootings are good for business. For the Republican Party, white racist fear is good for fascists. This is called a strategy of tension. Strategia della tensione. It's a political policy wherein violent struggle is encouraged rather than suppressed. The purpose is to create a general feeling of insecurity in the population, to make the people seek security in a strong government. Again, to create a sense of insecurity in the population, to make people seek security in a strong government. That's why. Look up Operation Gladio in Italy. Look up the Turkish deep state 1970 to 1990, and look up ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe. I'll meet you back here, or you can do it afterwards. Understand? This isn't the first time, and this is the playbook. That's why every one of those answers were coordinated, and that's why all of those nonsensical answers about the border, even though we're talking about homegrown terrorists, even the one that was already stopped before the two that were made real. The knowledge was already there, and they're still bringing it out. It wasn't because they had late information. It's because if it can't be used to stoke the fear, they can't win. This is why they had a coordinated lie already in the back pocket. and have never once thought about the dead or the families of the dead or how they're going to pay for their funerals or what they can do to help.
And despite what's happened the last 2 days in Las Vegas and in New Orleans, this administration is not stopping. They're still releasing thousands of people every week through the CBP-1 app, the ACHMB program, and Border Patrol continues to release people in this country without proper vetting.
How would securing the border have stopped either New Orleans or Las Vegas? How would it have stopped the man from traveling from his home in Houston, Texas, to New Orleans?
I'm on the Border Security Caucus, and we've had former Border Patrol people come in and talk to us. 55,000, under Biden, I call him Biden because I think he's Obama's third term, 55,000 special interest aliens have come across our border. That's from countries who hate us: Iran, Iraq, Syria, Yemen. You can go right down the list. And yet they're coming into this country free. They've been handled at the border. Now, Cheryl, if only 10% got through that we didn't know about of 55,000, that's 5,500 special terrorists, potential terrorists, that are in this country, in Mayorkas and company. As you know, they said we've got operational control of the border. He's been saying that forever. They're not doing their job, and Americans are paying the price for that.
While they run a photo of the alleged attacker, the terrorist, Mike Johnson rambles on about the wide open border as though there's a linkage. And Fox News is doing the heavy lifting for him.
Unless you're listening to Alex Jones, who still has a show. If, you can watch him. He'll tell you anything you want to hear. Or Marjorie Taylor Greene, who immediately after the Bourbon Street attack in New Orleans said, quote unquote, shut the border down. He was an American citizen. Arizona Republican Andy Biggs, he who asked for a pardon on January 6th, immediately after Bourbon Street exploded, Andy Biggs said, this is on Senate Democrats and Joe Biden, unquote.
You see, in this strategy, you get things like this. After stoking the politics that they've been stoking for this many years, now the strategy simply is, go ahead and report the brown people you see at church, the skating rink, Walmart. Go ahead, do it. If you're scared enough, if you're grieved enough, you'll do it. And when you do it, they'll come on TV and say, we don't know what you're talking about. We need more of you to do it. We don't know what you're talking about. Have you heard about the immigrants coming? We don't know what you mean by that, how that could be a problem. What about those dirty Mexicans and the blacks and their neighborhoods? We don't know about the guns. Nothing's wrong with them. What about those dirty, ignorant, foreign, brown Democrats? Blue shirts on Sundays. Whatever it takes. And if you're fortified against it, welcome to the resistance. If you're not, if you turned this off before you got to this point, because it was too much for you, welcome to hell.
Republicans are the party of white domestic extremists. They will insist Black Lives Matter and Antifa are just as violent as their extremists, and that's simply not true. No statistics back that up. Antifa doesn't exist. Christopher Wray, the outgoing head of the FBI, testified under oath before our Senate that Antifa is an ideology, not a terrorist organization. There is no Antifa. The real threat of terrorism was from white supremacists with guns. Domestic white supremacists with guns. In Janet Napolitano's Homeland Security report, she included disenchanted white veterans coming home from Afghanistan and Iraq. She said in the report, they can become easily radicalized. And Republicans went into hysterics. You're insulting our constituents. You're slandering our constituents.
It's January 4th, 2025. Are you awake yet? The resistance starts with us. There will be no choosing afterwards. You can close your eyes and you can hope that it will only affect them. It will not. I've had 4 people come to me and say that they wanted to run. You do need also the political movement. There's the resistance, and then there's the political resistance, and you need both. No matter what anybody tells you. Of the 4 people, one of them has already dropped out. That could be for any reason. There is no shade there. I thank him for even thinking about it. But the other 3 have yet to respond, even though I have campaign managers at the ready. Will you answer the call? Will you email me? It's January 4th, 2025, and sooner or later you won't be able to choose. Share this, press like, subscribe, hit that email if you want to answer the call. If you want to be a part of the resistance and get vetted thoroughly. Or if you want to run for office where you are to make a change, or even just to provide the political resistance, even if you lose. It's important. Read the book on tyranny. Educate yourself. Educate others. Share this. Educate yourself, educate others, and then come back for more. Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.